Hello everyone, welcome back to the painting vlogs with Water the Nation's Rage. Right away from the start, here I am mixing some alizarin crimson with some burnt umber. And I'm trying to make a shade for the door down at the bottom of the page that I still haven't touched initially. And what I'm doing here to start out with is I'm using actually a different color here that I mixed up to set as a base layer. It's mixed with a lot of liquid, and the purpose of doing this is to set down that dark color underneath. And the theory here is that a thick paint will stick to a thin paint. So I start out by laying that in. Now I'm going to go over that with this burnt umber and alizarin crimson. And I'm setting some guidelines here initially before I put in this lighter tone. This is actually yellow ochre mixed with some titanium white. And then I just kind of mix that in with the mahogany color that I just mixed for the door itself. But right away I noticed that I didn't like what I was adding to the canvas here, and I decided to go ahead and erase it, which is very easy and simple to do with oil, so long as it's still wet and not dry. I've been looking at several pictures of cathedral doors online, and I kind of use them as a reference. I'm not exactly copying what I saw, but I'm kind of using it as a guideline. I thought that the Gothic arches would suit far better with what I was doing, so I kind of like this solution, this idea, and I chose to stick with it. Now, this is just the first layer that I'm adding in here. Keep in mind, when this dries, I'm going to be going back over it. I'm going to be refining the lines. I'm going to be adding some tone to it as well, just to make it clearer and make the lines finer. And if I can, I'll add some highlight to it to actually, make it look more three-dimensional. It's funny. As soon as I filled that white space down there in, I realized that the door frame is not exactly in line with the walls or the windows. So there you go. There's another imperfection for the Imperfect Cathedral. Now what I'm doing here is I'm actually getting ready to start painting the center stained glass that we did in episode 1. I've set out my different colors. I'm just decided that I was going to experiment. I wanted to do primary and secondary colors, and I wanted to kind of lay it out in a way that made sense as far as the color wheel goes. But I found that I wasn't really happy with the primary and the secondary colors, and so I decided to actually go back over this part that I had just initially put in. I'm sorry I didn't leave that in the video, but I'm actually correcting an error here. I'm going back over the colors I just put in because I looked at that and I decided that I wasn't happy with it. So I decided I would go a different route. There's just something about the colors themselves. I didn't think they fit very well with the rest of the colors in the painting overall. So I decided in the end to actually go in a different direction. Now I had a little bit of trouble making this violet or purple kind of color here. Initially I tried to mix some phthalo blue with some permanent red, and it actually turned out to make this dirty, muddy brown color instead of a purple. So instead what I did is I mixed two other entirely different colors together. I actually ended up mixing some alizarin crimson with some ultramarine, which is a completely different blue than the phthalo, however you say that, phthalo blue. And I was pretty happy with what I got out of that. It was good enough, I suppose, but just keep in mind I'm not sure exactly how it works. You would think, I mean, we're always told in school that if you mix a blue and a red, you'll get purple or violet, but not in the case with oil paint, apparently. It just didn't seem to work out for me. Now, as I'm adding these colors in, especially the darker colors, I'm adding a little bit of titanium white to them. And notice how I go back over these spaces in the window itself with different colors. It's kind of affecting the color that I'm putting in. The color underneath is affecting the color that I'm adding in, especially if it's a completely different color. And that should get fixed after I go over it a second time. I'm planning on going over the window a second time. I think it needs it. And also the frame itself, all that contrast is starting to go away as I add the color in. So I'll be going back over the frame as well. I'm not exactly sure what I'm going to do with that at this point. I'll have to figure it out. This has basically been the way it's been since I started this painting. I've just been kind of figuring things out as I go, experimenting a lot, trying different things. This is actually the first time I've ever tried to paint stained glass, period. So this is all new to me, and I'm pretty satisfied with the way it came out. It's not exactly what I thought it was going to be like, but I would just label it as satisfactory, and my wife was pretty impressed with it. So that made me feel a little bit better about what I was doing. And keep in mind, I don't have any former training, no formal training at all with painting. I just kind of started doing it one day and decided that it was something I enjoyed doing and that I would continue to do it. Now, you'll see as I move down here where there is no paint added previously, that the colors are actually a lot more rich, and they look a lot better. And like I said, the reason why is because I went over colors that I had previously put in on the top part of the window, so they're kind of, they almost look faded out to a certain extent. Now, I debated a little bit on how I was going to use these colors, but if you notice, I've got about 5 different colors here that I'm using all together, and what I ended up using was some phthalo green, I got the ultramarine blue, I got the alizarin crimson, and I've got that purple color that I came up with when I mixed the ultramarine blue with the alizarin crimson. But then I've also got this lighter color here that you see, and that is just yellow ochre mixed with quite a bit of titanium white. And I came up with this color from looking at reference pictures of stained glass online, and it kind of sets a decent contrast with the rest of the colors, and I was pretty happy with it overall. I'll probably go back over some of it with some titanium white on the second go around. Now, it's important to me that I kind of get rid of these flat colors. And in the end, when the painting is completed, I'll actually have some texture added to this But for right now, I wanted to put in a base color, just like I did with the door, adding liquid to each of the colors as I went along. And the second go around, I'll be adding some texture to it using the wet on wet technique. And that's kind of the way that I paint. I've just decided that, the first time around, it's almost like I'm coloring in a way, and then the second time around, I'm actually building shape, form, texture, tone, and highlight. The second time that I go over an area that's already been painted initially. So the first phase is kind of like a block in phase, and then the second phase is the texture and the tone, and finally, I guess the third phase would be the highlight. I'm really liking the way that this, I'll just call it a white, yellow ochre white color. I'm really liking the way that it looks with the ultramarine blue. So I've decided to lay out kind of a checker pattern here that it was a little bit confusing to me in the beginning, but I started to make sense of it, and I started to find my way around the window by doing this. And it's basically just the yellow ochre white color is centered around a variation of a pattern with either the phthalo green and the ultramarine blue, or the purple and the ultramarine blue, or the alizarin crimson and the ultramarine blue. And in each one of these sections of the window itself, I'm kind of varying it. I'm alternating each section to either have purple or green or crimson. And I hope you can understand what I'm saying. But basically, each one of the rectangular sections of the window are going to have the yellow ochre white color with the ultramarine blue, but they will vary with the crimson, the purple, or the phthalo green. So it kind of makes a pattern. It's kind of like a pattern within a pattern. And I thought that was pretty cool. Overall, I'm pretty happy. I'm looking forward to put in the second layer of paint, like I said, where I'm trying to build a little bit of texture just to make it look like stained glass, especially in the bigger shapes of the window itself. I'm also looking forward to go back over the frame and make it darker to try to bring some of that contrast back that I had before I started filling in the color itself on the window. Overall, I think it's a great centerpiece. It kind of brings the painting to life in a way. It brings some color into it. The majority of the rest of the painting has just a few colors. This is what I turned out with in the end. This is what we ended up with in the end. Alright, so guys, this is the end of the video. I'm just checking in one last time, but there's one thing I have to run by you. And if you happen to see the vlog that I uploaded last week, it was entitled What I Haven't Told You. In that vlog, I basically made a promise to myself and a vow that from now on I would be painting every weekend, and I would be sharing it on my YouTube channel. And I still would like to do that. However, some things have happened this past week that may alter that schedule just a little bit. Basically, this past week, I have lost my job. I have been laid off, and it's due to the COVID-19 crisis that's going on, and just the fact that my company slowed down to a crawl and there wasn't enough work to go around, and because I have the least amount of seniority, they let me go. But the good news is I have basically found another job within 3 days. I found another job, and that's awesome. But this job that I found is going to basically alter my schedule completely. I'm having to go back into a truck. I'm actually a truck driver and had done that previously before I got my last job that I just got laid off of. So I'll be going back over the road, and my schedule is 2 weeks out in the truck, 14 days out, and 7 days home. Now, ultimately, what I would like to do is bring the palette and the canvas in the truck with me and actually paint on my brakes while I'm not driving. I really want to do this. I want to try it and see if I can pull it off. But it's going to take a little bit of time for me to get settled into the new job. It's going to take a little bit of time for me to get back into truck driving, because it's been well over a year since I last did this as an occupation. So it might take a little bit of time for me to release episode 4, but once I get basically established in my new routine, my new schedule, just be looking forward to more of these vlogs, these painting vlogs to come out. And I apologize, but that's just kind of the way it seemed to happen this past week, and it's altered everything. It's altered my plans, my schedule, and everything that I wanted to do. But that's not to say that I'm going to give up on it. I'm going to keep painting. I'm going to keep drawing. I'm going to keep embracing this artist inside of me that's desperate to come out and become a regular part of my life. So thanks for watching this. I'll see you in the next painting vlog. Don't know when it'll be, like I said, but I will come back. I promise. All right. Jared signing out with Why Do the Nations Rage, so on and so forth.